Did you know these days they make movies like that? They already have one coming out about the Wall Street bet stuff. I realized this whenever I was in the movie watching Oppenheimer and the trailer was playing. I was like, wow, there's just no downtime between the time when something happens and a movie is made about it. And I was thinking about the fact that there's a lot of conversation about the LCS right now and its future. And it feels exactly the type of thing that Hollywood would try to do something about. And I know that because I live in Los Angeles, which is where Hollywood is. And so I'm intrinsically connected to the entertainment world. And so I thought, hey, I'm somebody who's an expert in the LCS and I live near Hollywood. I'm the perfect person to get ahead of this whole thing and make sure that Hollywood does not screw up this movie when they make the LCS movie. And so what I have done here is I have fan cast the LCS, and fan cast is generous. It's actually just a cast because I'm not just a fan, I'm an expert. And so here you go, Hollywood. This is who you should cast for each of the roles in this. In fact, it's not each because I couldn't think of a funny joke all the time. So if you're watching this and you work in the LCS and I don't have you on this list, don't get angry at me. I just couldn't think of a joke. All right, let's get into the section first with the players. I think Licorice should be played by none other than Jesse Eisenberg. Yes, Jesse Eisenberg, his portrayal of Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network was great. I want to be clear, though, that Licorice is not a dick, so that might be a bit of an issue. Also, he's in Zombieland, which is an apocalyptic world where everything has gone to hell, and I feel like that experience will help him understand how to play a role in the LCS. Next up, we've got Hanser, who's played by none other than Simu Liu. Yeah, I also watched Barbie the same day I watched Oppenheimer. I liked Oppenheimer more. I realize that's somewhat controversial. I feel like everybody's saying they like Barbie more. But Hanser has what I would describe as Kenergy. And he's just, this big buff, friendly, nice dude. And Simu Liu also plays Ken. Spoilers. I'm sorry. And I don't know if you know this, but Simu is actually into the esports world. In fact, here's a picture of him with two people at Team Liquid. So either way, I just think he would definitely understand the role. Next up, we've got Sven, played by, and I think this is obvious, Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz is Austrian. He's not Danish like Sven, but they both speak very quickly, and they both kind of scare me a little bit. So I think that's the obvious casting. All right, let's get to Jojo Pyun. Now, Jojo Pyun, I wanted to be very sensitive because you really want to make sure that you don't repeat the mistakes of Hollywood in the past and that you consider somebody's background whenever you're casting them and you don't replace them. Which is why I think Justin Trudeau, as a Canadian, would be perfect to play Jojo Pyun. Now, I say that, but Drew, who is my editor and also my sensitivity reader for the script, told me that that was not accurate. And so we've decided to cast Steven Yeun as our Korean-Canadian actor for Jojo because Jojo is Korean-Canadian. And again, Steven Yeun in Walking Dead, which is an apocalyptic zombie world, and I think is an apt analogy for the LCS. Bjergsen, played by Alex Skarsgård of Succession fame. I've not seen Succession. Drew keeps trying to get me to watch Succession, but I just think he looks a lot like him, and then you could just throw glasses on him, and he'd look exactly like Bjergsen. And so, they're both handsome dudes. It makes sense. And Scandinavian, both Scandinavian, trying to keep that going. All right, Fudge, played by Russell Crowe. Yes, I know what you're thinking. This is the perfect cast. Other than the fact that Russell Crowe is a little too old. In fact, I think it'd be the perfect cast if we could use Russell Crowe from like back in the Gladiator days or even before then. He was on like Master Commander or something. You just de-age him because we've got AI tech now. So that's how he becomes Fudge. I do not need to cast Doublelift and Aphromoo because that work has already been done for me. So let's move on. So let's move to the team side. Well, on the team side, I've only found one person I can cast, which is Anero, and I will cast him as, and we're going to fill in how you pronounce this person's name here.
Hafthor Julius Björnsson.
He plays the Mountain on Game of Thrones, and this made a lot of sense for me because Anero's been fan casting himself as this individual for years, and I think it just works. Before we move on, I want to address the fact that this movie will probably not be able to get the rights necessary from Riot Games to use LCS, which is a branded trademark. And so we were trying to figure out what we would do. Thanks to a legal paperwork issue, it was poorly filed, we can use the brand X, apparently. So we will be calling this the XCS in this film just to avoid any kind of legal fallout with Riot Games, who are litigious. Next, we've got talent. Emily, Kate Blanchett. makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you. She's noble, regal. She's this intellectual woman. All these things that I think Emily Rand is as well. It's a perfect fit. Gabby, Selena Gomez. Perfect again. Besides being a great and talented actress, I love her in Only Murders in the Building. Is it Only Murder in the Building? Whatever. Either way, she's also a singer, as is Gabby. In fact, you can catch Gabby's new song, Myself, on Spotify. So shout out to Gabby for doing that. That's pretty cool. Raz, I think in today's day and age, Hollywood likes to mix things up. You know, they don't always go with the obvious person to play a role. And I think it makes sense that Raz would be played by Zendaya. Zendaya, hip with the kids. And there's a lot of conversation about her. She just feels like the type of person that would lead sort of the PR train for a film. We'd get a lot of views that way, a lot of money pouring in. Drew said I couldn't do that. And I asked him why. And he was unable to give me a clear, cohesive answer, but just said it was a bad idea. So we switched to somebody who I think Raz sees himself a lot in and who he looks up to, and I see him tweeting about him all the time, which is Stephen A. Smith. So I did that for Raz because I think he would really enjoy that. All right, the rest of this video, for people that I came up with, are all talent who are old white men. And when I say old white men, I mean they're all 30 or over, which in the esports space is ancient. I thought it was important to delineate that and really demonstrate that age gap between the rest of the actors. And so I have cast accordingly. And boy, was it hard to find old white men actors. There's just not that many of those in Hollywood. All right. Obviously, Azale, Patrick Stewart. He's smart, intelligent, regal, has sort of a authoritative command. And there's just something else about the two that I see, and I can't really put my finger on it. Flowers. Did you know Brad Pitt is 59 years old? So he's old, but he's also still handsome, like Flowers. They also apparently are similar in that Brad Pitt comes from Oklahoma and Captain Flowers comes from Ohio. They both got that sort of Midwest. Are we allowed to say flyover state, Drew? Okay, we're not allowed to say flying state. He's rural. Yeah, that's anyway, we got Kobe. Kobe is played by Robert Redford. When I told him he was played by Robert Redford, he didn't know who that was. So it's going to be unfortunate for him when he goes to the premiere and does not identify himself in this person. But I think Robert Redford, he's got that sort of dignified statesperson look, and he's still looking great despite his age. He's ancient, much like Kobe, so that makes a lot of sense to me. Jat is obviously played by Jack Nicholson. They both love sports and golfing, and so I think that if Jack read the script, he'd see a lot of himself in Jat. In fact, you could it would become like a meme online where people would call him Jat Nicholson. And I realized as I was fan casting this that I kind of feel like Jat is just turning into Jack Nicholson as sort of a unrelated thing to this fan casting thing. But people should look into that because it's kind of weird. All right, you got two people left. These are your Hotline League hosts. It's Mark and myself. We'll start with Mark. Mark, he's kind of an unhinged character, and there's always a bit of a suggestion of violence when I'm on the show with him in Hotline League. And that's why I chose Javier Bardem to play him. I feel Javier will be able to encapsulate that just suggestion of menace that Mark tends to carry with him at all times. Finally, you got your boy, Travis here, and none other than Pedro Pascal is my pick to play me. We even wear the same jacket. But for some reason, when I chose Pedro, Drew told me that I was not allowed to do that. And I asked him what societal or social rule I was breaking, and he said none, but I was not allowed to do it. It's not a good fit. So we pivoted to somebody who I've drawn a lot of close comparisons to over the years. People say that I look like him, or I could be his son or brother, who's hopefully much younger. And it just makes a lot of sense. I know you guys already know who it's going to be. Willem Dafoe. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Hollywood. You can use all this without paying me because I know you don't like to pay people. Obviously, we've got kind of a strike going on. But I really hope you all enjoyed this video. Please let me know what your fan castings are in the comments below, but please keep them nice and polite. I tried to avoid anything that would be offensive, and I would appreciate if you did too, especially because you don't have Drew with you, so be careful. But if you like this video, please consider becoming a member of the channel. I don't have a sponsor for it, and I have to pay Drew not only his normal fees, but also a sensitivity reader fee for this video as well. So it's just racking up, and he's been threatening to go on strike too. So it's been It's been rough. Please become a member of the channel. You can hit the join button below for just $2.99. You can watch videos like this early. Thanks again. Catch you next time.